whatever our reasons for coming, something happens to us while we're here. We are transformed. That happens whether we're an undergraduate, a graduate student, a postdoctoral researcher, a faculty member, a staff member, or a parent. We become something more, something better together as a community. And we carry that feeling of optimism and loyalty to the institution's values forever, wherever we go and whatever we do. At one point, John called me into his office and said, could you come see me tomorrow at, whatever. And so I said yes. I had absolutely no idea what he wanted to talk about. He said, I want you to be provost. So I had no idea that he was even considering me or that there was a search committee. I did the following calculation. I said, okay, I'm a logician. I write papers. How much am I going to impact the world continuing that compared to how much I might impact the world if I just make this university a little bit better for everybody?
So John had been the faculty chair of the search committee that picked me. I had gotten to know him actually on another university committee that Gerhard Casper had put us both on. John obviously is complimentary in that he's a philosopher, but because he's on the logic side of philosophy, there's some overlap between how he and I think that could be a common dialogue for how we might solve a problem. He became an expert really on the two things that matter most in that core operation, which is the budget of the university and faculty appointments and promotion.
I think they both had strategic clarity, strategic conviction as to where they ought to be, and could communicate that clearly. And they did it in a way where they had confidence in what they were doing, so there was no uncertainty or lingering uncertainty. They were decisive. They could really see that you needed to move in two parallel paths. The faculty had enormous respect for them and their leadership, their values, their ability to kind of carry out the university's mission.
The first thing we had to do was build our team of deans, vice provosts, vice presidents. And we wanted to build a team in particular that saw themselves as university leaders. First and foremost, Bob Joss was responsible for the business school, but he saw himself as a university leader. And this is really unheard of.
Etch was a terrific, amazing individual, great listener, always helpful, encouraging. And he wasn't just a listener who just absorbed everything. He added value, gave advice back, gave a reaction. He has the whole university perspective, which you're trying to gather, and he's very good at relating that, both he and John Hennessy.
John Etchemendy worked incredibly hard, was so meticulous in every little detail, and could argue any point in a very calm, thoughtful manner. He read every file for faculty appointments in incredible detail. He was very careful with that. He was the longest serving provost, I believe, in the history of Stanford. A very tough job.
He was very open and sometimes humorous and, engaged with the steering committee and the Senate. So he was very good at it, and a relief. Really, I think a relief to faculty that somebody that knew Stanford so well would come in and make some changes.
What is common to, I believe, all provost positions at all universities and colleges is the provost is the chief academic officer. At Stanford, the provost is also the chief budget officer, so does the annual general funds budget, and is also in charge of the capital planning. At Stanford, the athletics department and program report to the provost. That's very unusual. It's a very broad role.
He's the most patient person in the world. So he would have the patience to do things where I would just be ready to blow my top or not do one more meeting.
I was struck by the fact that with 9 provosts sitting in a room, they were constantly talking over one another. There wasn't enough bandwidth for everybody to talk. And the single exception was you, who listened and listened and listened, and then people deferred and wanted to know what you thought, but you weren't one of the people talking over your colleagues.
I started going to the quarterly provost meetings, and so it was mostly Etch for 16 years. And I remember saying to Etch things like, is there anything you want me to be doing different? And he'd say, no, Charlie, he said, just make us proud.
There's no way I could have done 16 years without a provost, both his ability and his his duration.
When people ask, what are you most proud of achieving as provost? And there are a number of things I could choose to cite. But one of the things that I always mention is building the leadership team that we ultimately built at Stanford. I believe that any success Stanford achieves is due to its people and to the community that we cumulatively create. Community is a responsibility that requires constant affirmation. Community has to be renewed as the university grows and stretches with each new challenge and with each new member. We are partners in this shared Stanford experience. Partners watch out for one another, help one another, respect one another's contributions, and support one another.